Welcome to 10 Minutes a Day, a daily reading of the Catholic Church's social encyclicals. Today we continue with Mater et Magistra, written by Pope John XXIII in 1961. But in the 20 years which have elapsed since the changing economic climate noted at that time by Pius XII, the economic scene has undergone a radical transformation, both in the internal structure of the various states and in their relations with one another. In the field of science, technology, and economics, we have the discovery of nuclear energy and its application first to the purposes of war and later, increasingly, to peaceful ends. The practically limitless possibilities of chemistry and the production of synthetic materials, the growth of automation in industry and public services, the modernization of agriculture, the easing of communications, especially by radio and television, faster transportation, and the initial conquest of interplanetary space. In the social field, we have the development of social insurance, and in more economically advanced communities, the introduction of social security systems. Men and labor unions are showing a more responsible awareness of the major social and economic problems. There is a progressive involvement in basic education, a wider distribution of essential commodities, greater opportunities for advancement in industry, and the consequent breaking down of class barriers, and a keener interest in world affairs shown by people of average education. At the same time, however, this assessment of the increased efficiency of social and economic systems in a growing number of communities serves also to bring to light certain glaring discrepancies. There is, in the first place, a progressive lack of balance between agriculture on the one hand and industry and public services on the other. Secondly, there are areas of varying economic prosperity within the same political communities. Finally, to take a world view, one observes a marked disparity in the economic wealth possessed by different countries. To turn to the political field, we observe many changes. In a number of countries, all classes of citizens are taking part in public life. Public authorities are injecting themselves more each day into social and economic matters. We are witnessing a break away from colonialism and the attainment of political independence by the peoples of Asia and Africa. Drawn together by their common needs, nations are becoming daily more interdependent. There is, moreover, an ever-extending network of societies and organizations which set their sights beyond the aims and interests of individual countries and concentrate on the economic, social, cultural, and political welfare of all nations throughout the world. As we pass all this in review, we are aware of our responsibility to take up this torch which our great predecessors lighted and hand it on with undiminished flame. It is a torch to lighten the pathways of all who would seek appropriate solutions to the many social problems of our times. Our purpose, therefore, is not merely to commemorate in a fitting manner the Leonine encyclical, but also to confirm and make more specific the teaching of our predecessors, and to determine clearly the mind of the Church on the new and important problems of the day. Section 2. The teaching of Rerum Novarum. It should be stated at the outset that in the economic order, first place must be given to the personal initiative of private citizens working either as individuals or in association with each other in various ways for the furtherance of common interests. But, for reasons explained by our predecessors, the civil power must also have a hand in the economy. It has to promote production in the way best calculated to achieve social progress and the well-being of all citizens. And in this work of directing, stimulating, coordinating, supplying, and integrating, its guiding principle must be the principle of subsidiary function, formulated by Pius XI in Quadragesimo Anno. This is a fundamental principle of social philosophy, unshaken and unchangeable. Just as it is wrong to withdraw from the individual and commit to a community what private enterprise and industry can accomplish, so too it is an injustice, a grave evil, and a disturbance of right order for a larger and higher association to arrogate to itself functions which can be performed efficiently by smaller and lower societies. Of its very nature, the true aim of all social activity should be to help members of the social body, but never to destroy or absorb them. The present advance of scientific knowledge and productive technology clearly puts within the power of the public authority to a much greater degree than ever before to reduce imbalances which may exist between different branches of the economy, or between different regions within the same country, or even between the different peoples of the world. It also puts into the hands of public authority a greater means for limiting fluctuations in the economy, and for providing effective measures to prevent the recurrence of mass unemployment. Hence, the insistent demands on those in authority, since they are responsible for the common good, to increase the degree and scope of their activities in the economic sphere, and to devise ways and means, and set the necessary machinery in motion for the attainment of this end. But however extensive and far-reaching the influence of the state on the economy may be, it must never be exerted to the extent of depriving the individual citizen of his freedom of action. It must rather augment his freedom, while effectively guaranteeing the protection of his essential personal rights. Among these is a man's right and duty to be primarily responsible for his own upkeep and that of his family. Hence, every economic system must permit and facilitate the free development of productive activity. Moreover, as history itself testifies with ever-increasing clarity, there can be no such thing as a well-ordered and prosperous society unless individual citizens and the state cooperate in the economy. Both sides must work together in harmony, and their respective efforts must be proportioned to the needs of the common good in the prevailing circumstances and conditions of human life. Experience has shown that where personal initiative is lacking, political tyranny ensues, and, in addition, economic stagnation in the production of a wide range of consumer goods and of services of material and spiritual order, those, namely, which are in a great measure dependent upon the exercise and stimulus of individual creative talent. Where, on the other hand, the good offices of the state are lacking or deficient, incurable disorder ensues, in particular the unscrupulous exploitation of the weak by the strong. For men of this stamp are always in evidence, and, like cockle among the wheat, thrive in every land. Certainly, one of the principal characteristics which seem to be typical of our age is an increase in social relationships, in these mutual ties, that is, which grow daily more numerous, and which have led to the introduction of many and varied forms of associations in the lives and activities of citizens, and to their acceptance within our legal framework. Scientific and technical progress, greater productive efficiency, and a higher standard of living are among the many present-day factors which would seem to have contributed to this trend. This development of the social life of man is at once a symptom and a cause of the growing intervention of the state, even in matters which are of intimate concern to the individual, hence of great importance and not devoid of risk. We might cite as examples such matters as health and education, the choice of a career, the care and rehabilitation of the physically and mentally handicapped. It is also partially the result, partly the expression of a natural, why not well-nigh irresistible urge in man to combine with his fellows for the attainment of aims and objectives which are beyond the means and capabilities of single individuals. In recent times, this tendency has given rise to the formation everywhere of both national and international movements, associations, and institutions with economic, cultural, social, sporting, recreational, professional, and political ends. Clearly, this sort of development in social relationships brings many advantages in its train. It makes possible for the individual to exercise many of his personal rights, especially those which we call economic and social, and which pertain to the necessities of life, healthcare, education on a more extensive and improved basis, a more thorough professional training, housing, work, and suitable leisure and recreation. Furthermore, the progressive perfection of modern methods of thought diffusion, the press, cinema, radio, television, makes it possible for everyone to participate in human events the world over. At the same time, however, this multiplication and daily extension of forms of association brings with it a multiplicity of restrictive laws and regulations in many departments of human life. As a consequence, it narrows the sphere of a person's freedom of action. The means often used, the methods followed, the atmosphere created all conspire to make it difficult for a person to think independently of outside influences, to act on his own initiative, exercise his responsibility, and express and fulfill his own personality. What then? Must we conclude that these increased social relationships necessarily reduce men to the condition of being mere automations? By no means. For actually, this growth in the social life of man is not a product of natural forces working, as it were, by a blind impulse. It is, as we saw, the creation of men who are free and autonomous by nature, although they must, of course, recognize, and in a sense obey the laws of economic development and social progress, and cannot altogether escape from the pressure of environment.